in music is an incredible opportunity to help, to assist, and it's a pendulum. We have to find the right way how to implement it, and it's composing is so personal that everybody has to find their own way. I think it is not the best usage of AI to use it as a cheap means to just compose some tracks for cheap video content. It's possible.
Like an automatic writing, like you would see in like the kind of music that you get off of like free sound for like
Yeah, just to avoid PRO monies and sync fees and licensing fees. And I understand that there is an economic factor to it, that companies don't want to pay for those rights, and our whole psychology and the behavior around music changed so much. Music became a commodity. I grew up in times where I had to walk into a store, physically look through the records and buy a thing, and I put money out there. It's like at the time there was barely any digital money, like no credit cards, and I had something in my hand, and it was almost like a barter kind of world, and walking home and listening to this thing from top to end. Now it became so easy, and with the Spotifys and the Apple Musics and Amazons and whatever there is, that it became a service, and it shifted how we consume music. And one of the best remarks somebody had, a cab driver, when we talked about music, and he talked about that the behavior changed, and he said something so meaningful, is that he doesn't have to look if there's a young person in the back of the car. When he notices that a person is skipping like from track to track, like after listening to 3 bars next and then another 4 bars next, then he knows it's a young person. And again, he was not judgmental about it. It was just an observation. And I think it's so true, because it's so easy to change artists' songs and services, and you pay a monthly fee, or if it's free, everything changed. And I think we need to find value in music again. And AI definitely will stir up the pot, which is great. But we have this opportunity to find something new, and maybe that's solstice, maybe that's depth, maybe that's health benefits. I would advocate for classifying music also with health values. And I don't know if you knew the service Health Tunes, which basically offers music to people for in regards to symptoms. You can type in chronic pain and the style of music you like, and you would get music therapy and evidence-based researched music for chronic pain or for anxiety or stress. And I think that's a new value, and maybe that's what's happening right now, shifting from that instant gratification to a deeper meaning and deeper value.
I did not know about that health use. That's very, very interesting. That makes a lot of sense to me too, especially like I'm from a part of the US that was very heavily affected by the opioid crisis. And a lot of the people that were being prescribed opioids for years and years, it was like 16-year-old athletes who, messed up their knee playing football or whatever. They don't need OxyContin. They need to like chill for a few weeks, and maybe music therapy could have helped if that had been more mainstream at that time.
Yeah. That's a wonderful observation you're having, and we have the stats that with music, with like the really evidence-based music therapy, you can reduce pain perception by 30%. Wow. If you add VR to it, it's up to 60%. And so we're even talking to the pharma industry, and which is just very open about what we're doing, because they're knowing the times are over where you can have a toothache and you get some painkillers, because it's just messes up the world. And basically, if every day a jumbo jet would fall out of the skies, you wouldn't be able to fly anymore. They would rule it out. But that is the amount of people who die of prescription drug overuse in the United States on a weekly basis. So something has to shift, and I think we're all open for it. And the great thing is the patient-centric notion in the health industry is wonderful, that people can educate themselves and walk into an office with some kind of knowledge. And many pharma corporations have the so-called beyond the pill department, where we can get the efficacy up of the drugs to work better without taking more. And especially in the opiate crisis, music is an incredible tool to help. I wish that something else would change in the United States, and that's that doctors can advertise for their services. To advertise for service, you have to have a good rating, and to have a good rating, you need a lot of 5 stars. And of course, that seduced some doctors to prescribe more painkillers than necessary. So you feel happy and you feel good and you don't have any pain, and I just went to the doctor where I don't have any challenges. And that system, I think, induces that overuse. And I wish that we find a way out of that. And you're in Berlin right now, and doctors don't advertise in Germany and Middle Europe. It's like there's a certain amount of doctors you're having, and it's a very different consumer feel. It's like they're not selling more or less iPhones or Androids. It is a service for health, and that is the important part.
Yeah, it's not commodified so much.
Yeah, exactly.
So would you say using music in this kind of way in a more medical context could also possibly contribute to the decommodification of music a fair bit?
Yeah, or at least a different angle of looking at it, and in that sense, then back to your first question, I do believe that AI could be an incredible partner there. I wish to be able to tap into Ahmed Elgamal. It's like he's this incredible computer scientist at Rutgers. To find out, the research works where we know they help for certain symptom, and then analyze if there are other works with the same potency, or write new works with that in mind. And some of the music we learn through music therapy, it's quite obvious why it works. It's just incredible to see marches, classical marches, work in Parkinson's. It's almost like a conductor. It helps you to walk better. It's almost like give you the impulse for the next step, and it really works well. But then, of course, the majority of the Parkinson's patients are in an older range, and for them, classical music is okay. But if somebody does not like classical music, it does not help. So we have to find new works which do the same trick, respectful to the taste of the patients. Similar with Alzheimer's, it's about the lyrics, and Parkinson's as well. It's about the dopamine. It's like music helps you to produce more dopamine, and melancholic music produces prolactin. It's another hormone in our brain where we would see and feel. We change the perspective to problems and challenges, and prolactin is especially produced with mothers when they breastfeed, because birthing is a traumatic, very painful process, And if you ask most of the mothers during the birthing if they want to have another baby, they probably will say no. But already a week later, they would probably say, yeah, it's like again and again. And a big part of this is this hormone prolactin, which helps to see things in a different light and to reframe it. And so when people are depressed or in challenging times and listening to their melancholic or sad music, something is happening in our brains, which we can um, medically now observe. It is that prolactin production, and that's in men as well as in women.
My next question is, what developments must take place before we have AI artists and bands that are competing in the marketplace?
I think we composers are a strange tribe to begin with. They're super competitive. And the instrumentalists as well as the composers. Like I remember when I started music, there was not so much the awe for the other students. There was that fear that he or she is better. And it's a weird athletic thinking, but not Olympic thinking. It's not being part of it. It's like being the best, and being the best in music is a tough one. So I think composers are quite jealous of other good composers. And I think it doesn't matter if it's AI or not. They will always compete. And maybe some composers will get frustrated quicker because, yeah, AI can do an amazing job and can do a lot already. And so I don't hear many composers welcoming the notions of AI in the music field. I personally think it's a great opportunity.
Mm-hmm. I see kind of a similar pattern with almost every field where people are seriously talking on a credible platform about, oh yeah, this field will be heavily involved with AI in 5 to 10 years. This field's going to change, that field's going to change. Most of the people currently working in that field have some resistance to that idea.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of people wonder why my field and not other fields.
I had a talk with a incredible conductor, and I'm understanding and sympathizing what he said, but I think we can reframe it. And Matthias and I talked about this right after that conversation. He said that AI doesn't go through the human drama. It's like the computer is not lovesick. He might not have a hangover or this or that, or lose a person, or have that winning sensation. It's emotionless. And my answer to this is, if AI is studying a composer, and let's say AI is really neatly composing, analyzing Beethoven's work, Beethoven's person manifests in his compositions. And so with every note he wrote, I think every academic classical person will nod to this one. Every note he wrote comes out of his personal being, his life, his joy and sadness and all the emotions. And if it did, which we all believe, then this is inert in the music. And if AI is analyzing the music, then AI is soaking that up and learning that with it. And if now AI is composing based on that, there is that drama in there. There is that love sickness, there's the joy, there's that hangover, and everything, all that human tidbits are in every note again. And,
Yeah,